Hey, how's it going? So, today's live stream is on a Thursday, and the reason for that is that I'm not going to be available next week, or not next week, but tomorrow on Friday. Um, and that's just due to kind of scheduling um, issues, I guess. But anyways, so I think this is gonna probably go until the end of August. Is every 2 weeks I might move the live stream from Friday to Thursday. And that's because scheduling issues with work and everything. There's been some changes at my workplace, so I have every Friday off, and I'd like to spend more time with family, so that's kind of the reason why we're doing this Thursday session for this week and for incoming weeks. I'll try and let you guys know when it's going to be on a Thursday, but I mean, it's going to be recorded anyway, so you can watch the live stream after the fact, even though most of you don't watch the entire thing, which is perfectly fine. Um, Again, like I mentioned in my previous streams, the intention is for you to have this on when it's going, or on after it's been recorded, and you can work on your own projects while just kind of streaming into what I've been doing with my projects. So anyways, with that out of the way, I guess we'll start this week. The plan for this session is really to kind of finish the fuselage portion of this design, um, and then maybe consider integrating these A-tail twin booms into the wings. And pretty much after that's done, we'll have a complete design, and then I'll have rapid prototype 004 right here completed. So yeah, last time we assembled the wings, we put a spar inside, and then we also put like a stainless steel little wire here made out of paperclip, so that I can bend the wingtips into that nice curve in the design sketch right here. And so I think that turned out really nice. The wing is actually has a really nice profile. It's very symmetric at the moment. I don't know how this is gonna look after I bend the wingtips, but yeah, we will see how that goes. So yeah, and this week we'll try and work on the fuselage, get that done, which should be fairly quick. Again, I'm saying fairly quick, but it might actually take longer because nowadays I prioritize quality over just rapidness in manufacturing. So we'll see how far we get with the fuselage. If we get the fuselage done, we'll assemble the spars onto the main wings, and that'll pretty much be it for this rapid prototype. So let's begin. Let me just move my camera down a little bit so I can sit down and present. Let's see. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna put the A-tail to the side here. Won't be touching that for a bit. What we want to do is create a strong, sturdy fuselage that is also it's kind of compact and durable, and also aerodynamic, right? So the way we're gonna do that for this design is using straws. So this is going to be interesting because I've never done it this way before. It's always been with a paper base, but now it's different with this cardstock, and also this, or not cardstock, but like this cardboard material. I got it from a cereal box, as you can tell. Cheerios, not sponsored by the way. But this is a interesting material to work with, and also combined with the new geometry that might pose some challenges. This is continuous, it's like a curve. And I'm not used to building with curves because in my legacy designs I used a dart paper airplane which had straight edges and then is easy to wrap the nose and make it a 3D structure, but this is slightly different. So I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but that's kind of the point of these design sessions, is to really just test out these new ideas and whatnot. So far with this design, we haven't had too many hiccups. It's been a pretty straightforward thing. So like we made significant progress, and we're able to just kind of churn out progress in every session. But this is where it might start to stall a little bit, just because I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just kind of testing different things out. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna tape down this section right here, and that's just where the top layer of the wing on both sides joins together. And yeah, I just want to, sorry about that, I live next to a highway, but anyway, you want to tape that down to make sure it's just kind of secure and all set to go. All right, that kind of unifies that structure. And kind of do this to really get the adhesive to stick to the surface. All right, that looks okay. Yeah, so design is kind of non-linear, right? So I'm also thinking about how I'm gonna finish off the bottom side of this. That's an interesting thought, because I don't want it to be flat, so I think I might have to put a structure here and wrap it too. It'll increase weight, but it'll make it look better, in my opinion. So probably gonna do that. For the fuselage right now, I have one straw right here. I'm wondering if I should trim the aft end here to make like a slanted section. I think I might try doing that. How slanted is interesting kind of a choice. So I think I'm gonna do, again, I like to switch units, so let's do a centimeter. I think that should do it. So that's gonna be 7 millimeters diameter. I don't think it matters too much because it's gonna be like a tail exhaust pipe kind of a structure, so it's not flight critical. So I'm just going to trim that. And you notice, nice thing about these straws are that you have a line on this side and a line 180 degrees off from it. And that's nice because you can align things by kind of squishing it flat and then cutting it. And so this is going to create a nice tail end structure here. Also, I'm considering using some popsicle sticks to reinforce the nose section here, because right now it seems a little flimsy. So I might let's try doing that. So for this, it doesn't really matter too much if the popsicle stick is bent, I feel like, because there's a little bit of curve involved anyway. So you can actually take advantage of the fact that it's curved, and then make something like this. Too bad these popsicle sticks aren't longer, because then you can go the whole axis of the aircraft. So we might have to do some layering or something. Or not. Really only has to be stiff up until here. I'm worried that if this is not reinforced enough, if it crashes, it'll bend at this point right here, but I'm hoping that the connecting structures will be strong enough to handle that. Really shouldn't be hoping in design, but it's kind of the way I see it right now. But this will definitely keep the nose intact, because that's going to be a very stiff point right there. I'm just worried that when it crashes, this is going to act as a weak spot right here along this kind of line. But then again, I am going to use straw to reinforce it, so maybe it's okay. Let's just see how it goes then. It's gonna be kind of hard to tape on this little edge here, so let's do it where the cardboard is. Fold underneath to get a nice secure attachment. And yep, this is just pressing it in place. We'll trim that excess later. We need to really secure a second point on this to prevent it from shifting out of place, And down the sides vertically, and then really rub it in so that the adhesive on the tape bonds with the cardboard material. I'll do the same thing here. So I think that might actually have created a slight bend in the fuselage, which is interesting. We'll see how that turns out. But right now I'm planning on adding a spar, or not a spar, but like a kind of longitudinal structure piece using straw on the top and the bottom. So actually that's an interesting idea, is reinforcing the bottom with popsicle sticks, and that'll create a rigid structure without increasing the weight too much, because you have your top popsicle stick going all the way back here, but then you have an overlap of a certain amount, right? Your bottom popsicle stick starts here, and so this middle portion is going to act really stiff. So I actually think that's that's a great idea, is to kind of overlap the structures. And since it's not, it's going to be all covered up in fairings and aerodynamic structures, I think it'll be fine. Hopefully it'll end up being symmetric too, because if we add a straw on top and a straw on bottom, you'll have a nice kind of a fuselage curve shape. So actually, before we do that, let me just trim off the excess here. This is just to keep the build fairly clean. Don't want to have excess bits all over the place. Yeah. These small pieces of tape are stubborn at times. I encourage you guys to do your own projects while listening in on the stream or watching the stream, because I feel like just watching it purely is kind of boring. It's really interesting when you get to design and make your own prototypes and whatnot. So that's all right. That's not perfect. What you can do in this case is you can use an X-Acto knife, and just lightly. You don't have to use a lot of force because it's a pretty thin material. You can just kind of slice off the edge there. I just kind of nudge it a little bit at a time. If it's a sharp blade, it'll catch on really easy, and then trim it. And now you can see it's very smooth. So that's a neat little build trick that I discovered. Alright, so before we attach the straw, we do want to attach the spar on the bottom side here. Now, how much to overlap is the question. Right, so that's gonna be interesting. I feel like to keep the symmetry of, or I guess asymmetry, this one on the top starts at the nose, so this one in the back has to start at the tail, maybe. Just seeing how much that gives us for overlap. I feel like that should be enough, and it might create actually the kind of asymmetry in the profile. As you can see here, it is kind of tapered up at the back. So I actually have no idea if it's going to end up like that if I put the popsicle stick here. This is kind of like, planning forward, because you can definitely make that happen, but it'll be easier or more difficult depending on your decisions early on, right? Like with most things in life. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I feel like this is gonna work, and to really take this in place, I feel like I am going to have to I'm going to have to tape one side down first, since there's not a lot of material on the end here. I'm going to tape this middle section here, and this is where it gets hard, because on the bottom side of this cardboard material, it's all graphics from a cereal box, so you can't really mark it too well. So this is where, you could be a little more lenient. So you see I shifted that tape a little bit. Now it's being problematic. There we go. It's still not great. this is where most of the time gets sunk into, is trying to make sure you do things right. It's easy to, build something, but to build it according to spec with the right tolerances, and consideration in design, that takes time. So you might secure this at the end, but right now I just need a second point to really stop it from moving. And this is done based on an eyeballing. So this is about 1.2 centimeters. That side. It's about 1.1. So as you can see, I was very close in the eyeballing, but not quite. Nice thing about tape is you can kind of shift the structure a little bit, but it's not going to be perfect. But then again, this is a rapid prototype and not a art piece. This thing is meant to fly. With more automated manufacturing methods, it's definitely possible to create exact, tolerances, but even then, tolerances are still a thing. They're just a lot tighter, right? With 3D printing, with CNC machining, just a different level of tolerance. But anyway, I feel like we have the thing in place. Alright, so now we can attach the straw section here. I'm curious to how this fuselage will turn out. It's not exactly the standard way I build these things, but I gotta be experimental to find new ways and better ways. So alright, so you have one side secured, right? So there's a little overhang there that we'll have to trim. Right now I'm focused on really securing this middle piece here. I'm wondering if this is enough tape. It's gonna be, okay, it's enough. I thought it was a little short, but it turned out okay. So this is gonna be interesting, wrapping the nose here, because that's a pretty big step. I think I might want to flatten this out and then tape that, but I'm not too sure about that yet. But anyway, so we have a basic kind of fuselage going right here. Right, this overhang, do you have to trim that? Take your X-Acto knife and I'll fold that back a little bit. And then just kind of lay the edge gently on the place you want to cut. And then just kind of slowly trim that off. And, that's the important bit, is keeping your blade sharp. I kind of rub it on sandpaper back and forth to give it a rough, serrated kind of edge. That's always helpful. Have a sharp knife in hand. So trim, even really tight tolerance bits right here, like this. It's a nice thing about X-Acto knives. Yep, there we go. All right, so just gonna take that piece off. All right, so we have the top done. Let's see, what do we do about the bottom? Okay, so if we want it to, well, this is kind of just up in the air at the moment. I'm wondering if I should put a straw piece here and then wrap it, or if I should wrap the top fuselage here. I don't think we'll need like an additional layer because that just adds weight. This is mainly for structural purposes. We don't want it to, you know, arc or bend this way, you know. So really it's for structural purposes, and at least for the Astra, I wanted it to be really rigid, so that's why it had like 3 in the base layer and then 2 and then a softer, smaller diameter straw arching over the top of everything. But in this case, since, you know, the scale is a little smaller, you know, the wings, the cord is a little smaller than before, there's no canards, there is an A-tail. I am planning on assembling that after the fuselage, so that's why I don't see it. It's out of sight. So I don't know, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, there's an overhang right here. Let me just trim that real quick. This is oddly satisfying, you know, just trimming through tape, because it really just slides through the tape. You really only need a little bit to get it started. And it's just really satisfying just slicing through like that. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I should put a straw on the bottom here just to match the symmetry. But I don't know if I want it to be the whole length, right? Because that might be a bit much. It's gonna be like a thick boy. Anyway, I'm gonna tape this back end here because it's a little loose. Yeah, it feels a little loose, so I'm just gonna secure that down with tape. In legacy designs, what I usually do when I have this overhang is just kind of to fold it over, but that actually adds a lot of unnecessary mass, and it's not the most precise way to do things, right? Because you have extra layers of unnecessary stuff sticking on the bottom. So what's nice about X-Acto knives, you can just slice, right? Slice it off, and it's an exact match to whatever geometry you have. Highly recommend doing it that way. Of course, you can cut it ahead of time and then apply it, but I feel like this is a lot easier and a lot faster to do. Just tape it first and then cut the excess. Now, you do want to be mindful of the amount of tape you use, not only for economic purposes, but you also want to try and prevent using too much tape, because it is plastic after all, you know. I'm really sorry about that. I live next to a highway. You know, some people just like to rev up their engines and drive really fast down the highway. Yeah, just doing some trimming here, but that's that. All right, so let's unwrap this straw. All right, so the straws that I'm using right now are these orange thick diameter straws from Dunkin' Donuts. If you're on the East Coast, you know, these things are everywhere, and they're really nice. They're just really well built. I also have a second type of straw right here. These are smaller diameter. In college, there was like a hackathon event, and one of my roommates picked up a box of 500 of these and gave it to me. Because he was like, there was a challenge where they had to build something out of these straws. So he had a lot of these, and right now in my drawer, I have a lot of these black, simple drinking straws. If you're trying to buy straws, I would avoid getting low quality, not uniform looking straws. I would highly recommend getting something like this. It's just a little bit more uniform to work with. And yeah, but normally I just collect straws when I'm at Dunkin', Dunkin' Donuts, just grab a few extra straws and you should be all set for your stock, right? But nowadays with the virus, I'm kind of just depleting my stock. That's why it's nice to keep a stockpile ready. Just gonna move this up a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm definitely concerned about this blunt edge right here. I feel like for both sides I might need to trim, or not trim down, because that's inaccurate way to process these. But I might have to just tape down this open end and then force it to be kind of a pinched down nose shape. So before I do that, I'm also wondering whether or not it's, like, what if I used a thin diameter straw here for the bottom, right? Because that'll make it more balanced, I feel like. You got more thickness on the top than on the bottom. I'm not sure. This might be an interesting idea to pursue. Then again, with this, there's too much curvature on the bottom, it feels like. So, I don't know. It's just a random thought. But, a lot of design is thinking about these random things, seemingly random, right? But they're just, in the end, they're just design options. Choose like, oh, well, this could be a variety of different ways. Design is really just like configuring things to your liking or to the goals that you want to achieve. That's really all it is. People seem to think that design is like an art, and I think it is in many ways. I didn't really measure it there, but I think it should be good enough. Yeah. People think it's an art, but in engineering, a lot of people don't really know art. And they have special ways of designing things, more technical ways than, say, like a product designer, right? It's not always, dependent on like, oh, I want a part to look like this. Some parts are, at least in aerospace, in the industry that I work in, which is, jet engines, and certain parts just have to look a certain way to function properly, and that's just how it is. You don't really have too much creative freedom, but there are definitely opportunities for creativity. Don't confuse that, right? There's, in your approach to getting the proper shape, there are tons of different ways to really do that. In college, I had a professor, or he wasn't my professor, but he was a systems engineering professor in the Department of Aerospace Engineering at University of Illinois, and he was very adamant about believing that the goal of systems engineering, or like think about airplane architecture, right? Real life airplane architecture. I mean, it's a lot more complex than this, right? And so he really believed in taking the art out of engineering, which, I can kind of understand, but also I kind of disagree with. It's not necessarily like, I feel like he meant like the creative visual art, that industrial designers often tend to really do. On Instagram, you might have seen Mark uh, MPV or something. He's like an illustrator, industrial designer. He designs planes kind of willy nilly, and I feel like that's the type of design that this professor was aiming to get away from. Um, you can't just design an airplane as an industrial designer and be sure that it'll work. Um, I know Mark Newson is is a great designer. He designed the Apple Watch sport band, right? He's a really prolific and great designer, friends with Johnny Ive at Apple and everything like that. But he designed an airplane and it just looks like it won't fly. It was like an art piece, right? Um, so it's like it's kind of a hard thing to really judge, right? And really think about is how do we design things? You can do it in a mathematical, very technical approach. We can also, you know, do things creatively. And I feel like the proper way is to find a balance between those two, right? You want your design to work. I mean, that's what design is after all. It's not just about the looks, right? What good is a plane that looks pretty but doesn't fly well, right? So there's always a balance and trade-off between the two. I feel like you shouldn't really compromise one for the other, right? So I've been saying, like, the creative side, don't rely on it too much, but also at the same time, if you don't dream, if you don't think about those new ideas, right, what could be, then you're really not going to design really any new ideas or airplanes or whatever, right? It's if you're always technical all the time, then it's going to result in you being behind in the industry, right? And that's kind of what I think, Boeing, at least with their X-32 JSF submission, right? It's just like, come on, guys. They're holding on to an old concept, right? They're holding on to the concept of, like a single engine. Well, I mean, for both JSF finalist designs, they were both single engine. Um, and it's just Boeing's design for that, and for that competition is just, it just kind of looks outdated, right? It looks silly. That's fine, but it doesn't have that performance capability, right? There was a fairing on the nose intake that you had to remove in order to transition to VTOL, which is, it's just not an elegant design. And I feel like the reason why they failed was, they didn't really take a leap of faith, so to speak. They went with the safe route. If you look at their configuration for the X-32, it looks very similar to legacy designs, right? The Boeing, or not Boeing, is God, what was it? McDonnell Douglas, right? They designed a lot of fighter planes um, before they merged with Boeing, and a lot of those designs were. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but that kind of look, which is the single engine intake, single engine and intake below, kind of like the F-16. You have an intake, and then your nose and everything. But it's like an outdated architecture, and they didn't really want to try anything risky, right? So, I mean, ultimately they lost that competition. It's a shame, but that's what happens when you don't dream enough. You have to design is like a mix of technical knowledge, right, and ideas on how to create the future, right? Can't have too much of one, or else you're not gonna do well. It's a mixture of both that really drives great design, I feel like. And this isn't just for airplanes. I feel like this is for anything in general, right? Buildings, right? Architecture, everyday products, right? Like your phone, your smartphone, your tablet. These things, when done with, you know, kind of, I don't want to say art in mind. It's more like humanities, right? This is why humanities matter, is that it gives you, a sense of purpose, right? A vision for what you're trying to build. So, anyways, that was a long rant about certain things. And I feel like a lot of people would disagree, right? There are a lot of people who are super entrenched in one camp or the other, right? If you're an engineer, you can't be an artist, right? If you're an artist, you can't be an engineer. I feel like there's no reason you can't be both, really. It's just finding a good balance is really difficult for these things. It's not easy. I feel like balance is really just the best solution for everything, really. Be it design, philosophy, politics. If you're leaning too much to one side, you're probably in the wrong, to be frank. Just look at what happened in the Second World War, right? But anyway, enough about that. I don't know how I'm going to attach this structure securely. I feel like the only way to really keep that down is to wrap a structural piece over it, which, that might be the only way to solve this problem, so we'll have to see. But I think this is rigid enough. I feel like if it crashes, it's gonna be resilient. So I feel like I should start building the fuselage around this. We're at about 40 something minutes here. So let's see, this is about the right length. This is a 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that I trimmed down for the wings and the tail, and so that's why like a chunk of it is missing. But I think I am going to cut out a rectangle that is roughly in the shape of this thing, and then just start wrapping it, and seeing how the curves will settle, I guess. Let's see, how wide is this? I recall it being about 1.5 to 2 inches. Not sure. This is what's hard about this. So there's parallax. Right? Oh, it's actually 1.25. I think it's very close to 1.25. So let's mark off 1.25 on one side, and then the other side, and then draw a parallel straight line, nice line. Not that it matters too much, but because we're gonna be wrapping it and trimming down material anyway. But I want to try and like this is like a thing, right? I feel like a lot of airplane designers and just great designers in general are just really anal about these things, right? It's all about the details. If you think about it, a design is just a collection of details, right? The configuration, what type of configuration, right? And then all the details that are governed by a design. Right? So just measured 1 1/4 here, 1 1/4 here, and then drew a straight line. Because using math and geometry, we know that if it's the same length on both sides, then it's going to be parallel, assuming that this edge is parallel, right? So, or this edge is right to this corner. But anyway, I feel like this is good. Instead of using scissors to cut the straight line, I'm going to get my cutting board. All right. Not sponsored, but this is a Fiskars cutting board. It's really nice. This is mostly just for straight edges. I mean, it can only cut straight edges, can't do anything else. So, yeah, just have a slicer there. And you just want to put it in between, align it properly. That's kind of the hardest point about this is, you know, there's a little wire in the middle that reference to make sure you cut along the line or edge that you marked. Anyway, this is, oh shoot, you know what I just forgot about? Right, there's thickness in this thing. Right, so, and it's a lot of thickness too, so 1 1/4 inch is not gonna do it. It might, right? So like if you look at this, it's not gonna do it. All right, so we need at least 2 inches to be safe. Luckily, I still have more here. Yeah, we can use this piece for something else down the line. Don't toss it just yet. I'm gonna cut 2 inches. Nice thing about this is we also have measurements. I've never actually used the measurements on this thing, but just mark 2 inches based on this thing. So now we're only marking one side, but since this is a right angle, it should be okay. So 2 inches, not 1. What was I thinking? Anyway, so from 1 inch to 3 inches, right? Just to be safe, we want some extra material. And then we should cut along this marking right here. So make sure it's flat against the edge. Make sure the wire is there. Just slide it over. All right. And that's it. That's a straight cut right there. Highly recommend that device, even though they're not sponsoring me at all. Sponsor me, man. Anyway, just taking off some of the old tape here. Just keep things tidy. Wow, that's really stuck on. That's why I should get rid of it earlier than later. It's because it's just really messy, and I don't like messy areas. I get messy sometimes. It's just a matter of, preference, I guess, or laziness. Sometimes laziness settles in, and then you do subpar things. That's just life, I feel like. Alright, so we have a 2-inch sheet of material, right? So now we're just kind of wrapping it over the fuselage. We're really probably just going to secure it first. So align it in the middle and then secure it on both sides. Forgot to mention the amount, right? The amount of material determines the width of the the fuselage. So you have less material, it'll be a sharper, more defined curve, right? But if you have a wider material, it's going to be a little shallower, and that's just a simple fact of geometry, I feel like. And so once you align that, tape one side down, now you can just take the other side down. And it should be all set. Hopefully it's aligned relatively well. Alright, this is the tricky part about my build technique, is really just like kind of modeling these curves. It's really hard to get the paper to do it exactly as you want. So you kind of have to see, this is where a little bit of that art comes in, right? This isn't a technical process. This is kind of a wood shop, go as you see as you go, and determine as you go. It's more of a craft than design. That's the only downside about this technique, is you can't really build consistently. Just taping that tape on that little nub there so it doesn't get on the mat. But yeah, it's kind of a art in that sense. Right, so this is going to be interesting. Generally, what I do in past designs is trim off a little bit here, make 2 cuts. That'll allow the material to kind of overflow, right? So let me just try that. Again, I don't know if this is going to work, because it's been a while since I've built anything. But if you cut that, I don't think it has to be perfectly aligned. It just has to be close enough. And what you can do is you can wrap that excess around your fuselage, right? Like that. And you'll have a nice shape. I'm not going to worry about this gap right here, because I might tape it down before I build the wing guard. But the reason why I'm not going to worry about this is I am going to build a wing guard here. It's going to be a kind of connecting fairing structure. So that's that. I feel like you might want to tape this edge first, just to get it to secure itself, and then start to fold over. I've never done this for a curved fuselage section, so this will be new to me and to you guys. I have never done this ever, so let's just get rid of that little fragment there. I'm just gonna cut the edge here and the edge here. Alright, should be pretty good. And that'll allow the aft portion here to be folded. We'll see how that turns out. But let's get the front done first. Oh my god, this is stressful, because I don't even know if this is gonna work. So if it doesn't work, well, then we'll just have to toss it out. Or maybe not toss it out, we'll figure something out. Alright, so something like this. Alright, so you got both sides folding down, and then I'm just gonna secure. This is an iffy build technique, would not recommend. If you know how to do a better build than this and create round, nice surfaces, then go ahead, comment, and I will learn. But this is the best curved surface technique that I know of right now. It's just to try and mold and wrap the cardstock around the core fuselage structure. So I'm just gonna take this real quick. that's really nice. I feel like this is gonna turn out okay. Maybe not really great. But yeah, you see, like this is where it gets hard because the where you fold here, the straight line, it's gonna want to continue on, and the problem is the nose here is curved, so we're gonna have to make several cuts, I feel like, to relieve the kind of tension. Just a couple locations here so that we can wrap it around in a smooth manner. Alright, where to cut is going to be interesting. This is kind of a judgment call based on where the curvature changes, right? I feel like I might want to do a cut because this is a round edge here. It's not exactly flat. I might want to do a cut here. I might want to do a cut here at the end of the tape section here, and then whatever is here, you know, just kind of break down the curve into multiple line segments. Let's see. Let's just start with this side. Right. So what that allows us to do is break this curve up so it won't all bunch up at one point. Right? You can see that fold matches the curve better than if we had a single straight piece, right? And there's a little bit of overlap between these two. It's a tiny amount because the curvature is tiny, but if you have more curvature, like down the line here, you'll see that the overlap is more obvious, right? But this is kind of surface modeling techniques in a nutshell. But before we do that, I do want to mark a location that is, so this is where eyeballing comes into play. I want to be a good eyeballer because it helps you out in a lot of situations. Yeah, you could use a ruler, but it's kind of hard in this case because we already put the fuselage down. Alright, that should be good. It's a close enough cut. Curvature is not too exaggerated. Alright. And at the end of this tape section right here. And I'm not cutting like at an angle or anything, I'm just trying to keep it straight on. I don't think it matters too much, but we'll see. This is where it gets tricky. Then we'll need another cut here. Alright, so I think we're gonna tape the earlier sections because we're pretty much done with those. And this is just to secure it in place. This is gonna be interesting. Don't want it to overlap too much since it is just a piece to secure the thing. Yeah, sorry if I'm not making any sense at all. This is like not a straightforward process. This is a fairly complex design method, manufacturing method, I should say, not a design method. But it'll yield interesting results. I'm actually doing this for the first time. In the past, I've never really broken up the curves into different sections. I've really just done like a single fold, because in the past the fuselage was a straight line, so you're able to do that. But here we drew a curved shape. I don't know why I drew a curved shape. Maybe because the sketch was curved anyway. But this is how I would approach a curved design, is to break it up into different sections here, and then fold over and make a nice nose shape or whatever. Yeah, it's like the nose shape of the F-22 Raptor is one of the grails for me. For surface modeling, it's almost impossible with this technique. Well, I won't say impossible because I haven't tried it, but it's gonna be really difficult if I do attempt to make a nose shape like that. Yeah, so after these two tabs, I feel like it'll really start to show whether or not this method is successful, which I think right now we're at about like a 60-70% success rate. I feel like that's just based on a feeling, not on any hard data. But yeah, it feels like it's matching the curve really nicely from above, so maybe it'll be great. I've never done this before, again, so sorry I keep on saying that. I'm just really unsure of myself right now because this is completely experimental, completely ad hoc, not planned. Alright, so we're just gonna tape that, right? And really just try and keep it really tight against that edge. Cardstock is stronger than tape, material-wise, so try and wrap it really tight around the cardboard structure, and then that'll create a strong edge. Wow, that actually looks decent, but it'll really show whether or not this works with the last couple of tabs, because this is where the curvature really ramps up. Let me just check the chat real quick. No chats. Anyway, yeah, normally on Fridays I get more interaction, but here today it's kind of a off day. Again, like I said, in the very beginning of the stream, my job is, so there's been a furlough, so that means I really only work from now until August, every single day of the week except the weekend obviously, but then also Fridays. So I have Fridays off, and since I want to spend more time with family, because they're close by, I could drive up to Mass. I work in Connecticut, so I can drive up to Mass and visit them, spend the weekend. So that's why I want to leave on Fridays, and that's why I am doing the stream today on a Thursday rather than a Friday. So that's just kind of the backstory there. But yeah, this tab is really interesting. I'm just gonna wrap it really tight around that curved edge. Again, straight lines approximating curves, it's never going to be perfect, but if you break it down far enough, it'll look okay. That actually doesn't look too bad, actually. I said actually twice. Department of Redundancy Department. Anyway, if you look at that, that's actually a nice curve. I am kind of surprised. Wow. All right. So now we just have to do the rest here. This nose section is going to be the hardest, I feel like, because that's where all the curvature meets up, and then you're going to have like a super folded structure there. I'm just like examining the edges here. I feel like I should have broken down another segment in between here. That would have helped it. Yeah, but it's kind of too late for that. For this, I might do 2 cuts like this, coming in at an angle. And that's just to facilitate, the folding over aspect of that. Because I want the front to have like a flat portion to fold over. That way we can have like a nice nose structure here, but oh well, we'll see what happens, I guess. Yeah, this is unwieldy. This wingspan is a little large. So I'm gonna approximate this. This is either gonna screw this up or not, but that's anything really. All right, I'm a little hesitant on doing this because I am completely eyeballing this. Right, with curves and with 3D surfaces, you can't really measure too much, so you just kind of have to go by feel. That's where the art part of this comes in. So we can tape this down. I feel like this is going to be too much material here, so I don't know. Should we keep that and then trim later? I am debating myself. See, if we do that, then we'll have a bunch of excess material, but we'll be sure that it can cover everything. But if we don't do that, and also, do we want to fold the nose piece first? Right? So that might create a better nose structure, a cleaner design. This is kind of tough. Anyway. Yep. The struggles, right? Can't really get the shape to work. You know what? I think I'm gonna. So I know that this amount of thickness or overhang works. So I might just try and cut it so that it matches that amount on the nose. And then for the actual tip of the nose, I'm going to keep it fully as it is because I feel like the curvature there is going to be pretty serious. So it's going to be kind of hard to predict. So I am going to cut this at a distance, just straight up. Okay, and I'm going to try to do that here too. Alright, so that got rid of a bunch of paper. Alright, so we might have to remove some stuff from the front too. And that's just to make sure that nothing interferes too much. So I'm gonna cut a triangular sliver going to that edge right there. So it kind of looks like that. I'm gonna do that again for this side. Anyway. Alright, so this is interesting. Some overhang in the front. I may or may not want to trim that. I feel like I should have enough material to really just do this anyway. It's not linear. This process is not clean, but yields some really nice geometry. That was what I was gonna say. Cutting this overhang is not too critical. I'm gonna do it anyway, because this piece is gonna be folded onto this bottom part here. So, didn't cut. There we go, much better. Just tack that onto that little straw niblet. Ugh. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's taped down. And then I want to pinch this nose down, get that nice curvature. Just making sure you guys can see. All right. Then we can cut this excess off. There we go. I'll just tack it onto a scrap piece right there. This is going to be really tough. I feel like I might need to create a separate nose cone piece just to like smooth everything out here. I don't really want to do that. We'll see how well it turns out, I guess. But let's grab a tiny sliver of tape here, and notice like this is the width of the tape. I'm not using the length in this case. I'm using the width, right, to secure this smaller tab here. And that's just trying to be economical with the resources that I have, which is, you know, tape. I'm running out of rolls of tape, so I just want to use the right amount, proper amount. So right now, I feel like this tape needs a little cut to allow the tape to really secure around this nose area. That's not too bad. I mean, there are little kinks here and there, but for the most part, for a new experimental method of creating these structures, it's not bad. The reason why real-life planes look a lot smoother is that they're not using paper. To be quite frank, they are forming pieces of metal, or, you know, different alloys of metal have different properties. So yeah, they're just hammering the metal into the shape that they want, which is why they're able to get really nice shapes. And also with a huge budget, you can create machine tools that are like, you know, you could create like a shape out of solid metal and then press the, you know, sheet of metal on top of that to get like an exact curve matching what you designed, right? And that's great, but that's not what I am capable of doing at the moment, at least for these gliders, right? That's actually a really nice nose. I am surprised. I feel like this is a pretty good first pass at a concept, right? Of course, there are these little notches that are there, but that's gonna happen with any curved surface. So this is actually really nice. Still need to wrap this nose piece, figure out how to do that. Yeah, this is a trouble spot. I feel like I do need to trim the sides down. Just to get it to fit a little bit better. Yeah, this is definitely by no means perfect. But it's very close. It is super, super close. I don't think I've built anything like this before. So this is a success in my book. Yep. Yep. Anyway, just wrap that. Make sure it's tight over the nose. Ugh, sorry, the wing is hitting the camera, my phone, so. All right, and then we can just trim off the excess here. That is always satisfying, trimming off undesired bits of tape. I just ripped it off there because it was really close to the edge. And then for this, this is going to be interesting. I feel like I just, slice it like that, and just kind of fold it down. All right, so there we go. All right, so that is a interesting nose. It's not perfect, but to start. Again, with these prototypes, I'm testing out new design, manufacturing, and just everything, just being a little bit more playful with the way I build these things. I don't know if playful is the right word. A bit more experimental is kind of what I mean. I'm just using a piece of tape here to really secure this front edge here. Alright, it's going to be some overhang, and then just trim that off. And trim this off too. Alright, that should be a decent nose. Yep. It's not bad. I am proud of that. Anyway. So the bottom is going to be interesting, because I don't know if we're able to create the same thing because we don't have the same surfaces to attach onto. So you might just have to match it edge to edge up until this point where the nose really starts to curve, and then do a custom fit around that. That's gonna be kind of hard again, because you want to try and match the shape, but also, right, it's alright, so that's gonna be hard. I have no idea how to do this. Maybe, so this is another idea. I think I might have done this before, is trimming this sheet in half, because we know that this is perfectly this thickness. So if we trim this down the middle, cut it in half, and then trim off the nose shape, right? The arcing nose cone shape. And then try and match that here and here, and then have a centerpiece to kind of smooth that out. That might actually be the best way to do this. And to do that, I would need my template from previously. Oh, there we go. This is where templates are nice. I just have something like this, right? And then just kind of mark out a nice curve area. Right. And then just mark off there and there. And then just try to cut down the middle and then trim off that. Right. You might want the aft portion here too, actually, now that I think about it. Do the same for the tail as we did for the nose. Right, because this tail also ends like that, so we want to be able to fit this geometry to that. This may not be perfect, but it might be worth a shot. This is what, 1 1/4, if I remember correctly. So if we want to divide 1 1/4 in half, that's 5/8. So yeah, 5/8. I said it before I even calculated it. So it's 5/4 right now, divided by 2. So 2 in the bottom, that's 5/8. Now this is 1 inch, this is half an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. Right, so 5 of these, which is right here. That's gonna be the midpoint there. And I just want the midpoint on the bottom here, which is 5/8, just right there. And then we don't even have to really draw a line, because we have the straight edge cutter. This is a great tool. If you're gonna be building a lot of these things, this is a nice tool to have. Only costs like $20 or so. Alright, okay. This is gonna be kind of hard, because you can't really see what I'm cutting. Yeah, this is not ideal. This is not ideal at all. This is really hard. Yeah, it doesn't want to align itself. There we go. Let's see. Okay, that's actually perfect. All right. Anyway, so just cut that. Now we have half of the profile here, and what we're doing with this is we're just trying to match the sides here, and then have a centerpiece here to cover it all. So now we can use our scissors for the curved portions. Doesn't have to be exact, because the geometry itself is not exact. Try and get really close though. Alright, so that's that. So what I'm gonna do is, see, this is gonna form a nice edge, right? And we'll do the other side, and then create a piece down the middle that connects to both of them. So create a nice smooth shape. I will say, I think I should have really just not use so much straw segment here, because now it's gonna look kind of weird, right? Because if you look at this, right, if I put this on the other side here and move the camera up a little bit, if you look at the side profile, it's gonna match really nice, right? It's gonna taper off, but then this straw is like sticking out the back. It's kind of weird. Should not have used that much straw. Maybe just cut the first portion there, front portion there, and then just let it taper. Well, it's not too late. We can still change it. It's not ideal because we already got to this point. Should I do it? I feel like I should. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this thing. It's gonna be great. I'm just gonna slice through all the work that I've done trying to secure this thing down. And then we're gonna cut it right at this line here. Well, that's actually perfect. I didn't plan for this, but the cereal box has a line right there that goes to the wing root. It's just a nice location to cut to get rid of that. And then I don't know, maybe I'll do a taper, but it's really, let's see what happens, right? So this is painful to me. I'm undoing my own work. There we go. Just trim that, slice through that, slice through that. Alright, and then we're just gonna cut this thing. Well, let's see how this fits, right? So this is gonna be a nice continuous curve up until, actually maybe even like a little forward of that. Yeah, this looks like we're gonna have to go a little forward of that. Let's go 1 centimeter or 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 in front of that. And so we're gonna be cutting right about here. This is highly subjective. That's not the best manufacturing practice, but it's really the only way to do this fast, right? God damn it. This thing is kind of stuck. Alright, this is not ideal. Anyway. Alright, so now you can see what's happening is I trimmed it, but not all the way through. So now I just need to cut it with a knife. Well, that's not precise, so we don't want to do that. I mean, nothing about this entire process is precise, right? This is like a handicraft. It's not exactly, you know, we're not manufacturing these things industrially on a large scale. So, all right, so we only have a portion of the straw in the front now. This will hopefully create a nice side profile shape. And we have these side tab pieces right here that I haven't cut the other one out, but it's there. I'm just seeing how it fits at the moment. Yeah, that fits a lot nicer. Yep, this is a lot of work for a rapid prototype. But honestly, it's just exploring new ideas. So, all right, so that looks okay. Oh, you know what's nice? I might actually want to install like a handle or something down here while I'm integrating this. So put the handle in, right? So attach one side, or design the handle, attach the handle, and then do the side pieces and a piece that covers everything. Oh my god, do I have a handle design ready? Yeah, I feel like that should be a modular thing, because I do have a handle on the YX03, but I didn't bring the template with me. Sorry about that. I am back. I'm gonna try and make a template really, really quick. The template making is really a long and tedious process because you gotta mark and make sure everything's straight and whatnot. But in a pinch, I can do it really fast. So let's see what I can come up with. All right, so let's just cut this, get it smaller, get it smaller. And this is just regular printed paper, so no big deal. Right. Now we're gonna fold this in half. What's I gonna do? So this is gonna be a handle. Right, so, oh god. How did I design my last handle? So it's gonna be like, oh shit, alright. So it's gonna be like coming off this line here. So how shallow do we want the angle to be? Maybe something like that. And then that's gonna be the leading edge, right? And then this is gonna be the handle piece right here. All right, that is not perfect at all. All right, since I drew on that side, I'll have to reverse this fold. And then we also want an attachment point here, right? This is not usually how I do things, but since we're in a pinch here, there we go. Cut that off and cut this edge right here. Right. And what's nice about this is end it like that, and then end the handle attachment point right there, and we'll just trim off the excess here, slightly off. There we go. And then have that there. Alright, cool. We have a very badly designed handle, but hopefully this is gonna work. Alright. So this area right here is gonna fold over as an attachment point to this base, right? And then this leading edge is sealed, it's double layered, and then it's gonna come back here, and then we'll have a nice handle here to hold on to actually fly this thing, right? So if we didn't want to fly this thing, this is totally not necessary, but I do want to fly this thing, so hence the handle. Anyway, so it looks something like this. Now I'm just gonna trace it onto cardstock, cut it out really quick. Oh god, right. Yeah, because I want to end this thing, this stream at around 7:30 ish, because that's gonna be about 2 hours. But who knows? I might go a little bit longer. Yeah, again, the reason why I'm doing it today rather than Friday is due to personal scheduling. I want to spend some time with family, so I will not be available tomorrow to stream. So I'm just doing this on Thursday, and this is going to go on until the end of August, so not that you guys care, because you're just dropping in to watch, but it's just how it's going to be. Alright, so I'm gonna mark the midpoint there, mark the midpoint here, right, and then use a straight edge to draw a line there to fold against. Right, that's just for reference. Again, I aligned this with this edge right here to save time, right? So that's always a plus. I'm just gonna cut this right here, and then I'm gonna make this easy for me, so I'm gonna cut directly here and then cut this edge first. Right, separate that part quickly to not have anything to hold on to. Right? And then cut here. See, I can work fast. It's just most of the time I'm too anal about all the details, trying to make sure the edges are straight and whatnot. But in a pinch, I can actually do this fairly quickly. Alright, so just cut that. I just need to trim off this edge right here. Trim off that edge. There we go. So we have a nice handle thing. Right, so now, how do we want the handle to be? Right, okay, so from that point on, this to the front. Oh wait, no. That tip to this. Okay, so we want to draw where we're gonna fold the lines. So that's gonna be this tip here, this vertex, to this tail vertex there. So this area is gonna be all attached to the fuselage. And this part is the grip area. So just get a vertex there, and then connect. Right, so we have our template. So we went from concept to part in less than, I'd say, 5 minutes. So that's really quick. Cool, so now we can do the major folds. Right, with the tip, trim the edge, fold up, right? This is gonna be the leading edge, right? So you're gonna be holding it like that. And I don't know if I wanna include a straw in this, because that'll create some rigidity, right? I might do that actually, so. Alright, so before we do that, let's pre-fold these two edges. Just going to do this real quick. Line the tip, tail here, and then just get it underneath and then fold, pinch, right? It's actually gonna, is it gonna go the other way? Yeah, it's gonna go the other way. So just reverse this fold real quick. Not ideal, but it does it anyway. Yeah, just do the same for that side. Slice down and then fold up like that. All right, and there we go. We have our handle, kind of. It's not done, but for the most part, it's pretty much there. It's not a very precise part because we rushed it. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. It's a little better. Now I am going to insert a straw and include that in the design here. This straw is meant to increase the rigidity of the structure because it is going to land on this thing, right? I'm just reading the comments right now. Just realized I got some comments. Have you ever looked at curving paper before? I use that method in some of my designs. Alright, I'm not going to launch it with a rubber band. I've mentioned that in my previous stream. But yeah, that comment about the curving the paper, this is kind of what I did. I broke it up into segments, right? And then folded it over. It actually turns out really nice. It's not perfect, but better than I expected. So it's a win for me, right? This is a nice blunt nose. Again, we're trying to finish the bottom side here, just why we have these two thin strips, which are meant to cover the sides here. Those parts are done, but before I assemble that, I do need a handle for this thing, because otherwise there's no way to toss it or throw it. I'm just eyeballing this, cutting it to shape. I'm going to tape this down, right? So this is going to secure this in place so that when I fold it, it doesn't do anything else. This is, I'm just gonna use an X-Acto knife to cut off this bit right here. Right. Then so I do need to trim this top portion here. Okay. That's gonna be flush with. This is also a new technique. I'm just I'm improvising on the spot here, but that'll create a nice, durable handle design. I feel like I should. What I do is just tape up this back end here just to keep it secure. This is analogous to folding the wing in half and then keeping a spar in between, right, to just have some thickness and rigidity. So this is like taping the trailing edge in that step. This is the trailing edge of the handle. It's really a wing if you think about it. It's just vertical and it doesn't produce lift. Just gonna trim that excess off. Yeah, looks like you always have to slice from the tip of the triangle rather than the edge coming out. Anyway, to get a clean cut, just an observation. So now we have a handle and we can mount it here. Okay, I just realized something. This handle is not great. It's a little rushed because it needs to be right about there, I believe, to complete the underside. So you don't want it to be too apt. This is tricky. Yeah, we could just really force the straw to go down. And we just like pinch it down and then assemble it with a bit of pressure. Alright, this isn't side first. And then the other side here. Right. And that's kind of a temporary fit. It's not a final structural fit. But what we're gonna do next is use this kind of thin slice here that we got from the template. Right, we cut out a template in cardstock, slice it in half. Now we got this. And then this is gonna fit around nicely right there, right, on both sides. And then we're gonna have a little bit showing here, the straw, you know, and then we're gonna cover that with a final round of thing. I am very descriptive. Anyway, and then after that, we just need to build the wing guard and then finish off the tail section, and then we can attach the A-tail, which will look really nice. Anyway, so I'm just trying to get as much done today as possible. So that's why I'm a little rushed right now. Also, it's just kind of exhilarating, you know. Not having to really measure is nice. Being able to eyeball things is really nice. Is a plus. Because then you can work at a faster pace and still get decent results. Yeah, the reason why it's taken a long time to get to this point is that when I laid out the fuselage, you know, in the concept sketch, it took a while, right? And then making the wing plan form took a while because these surfaces are flight critical, right? They need to be precise. Then the fuselage, where it's kind of a 3D structure, you can't really guarantee that same level of quality anyway. So I decided to go a little bit faster. And you can kind of tell today that this is a little faster. So normally this handle would be mounted on a 2D surface, a flat surface, but right now it's being mounted in a manner that is not what I'm used to, because there's a straw right there. But this is a nice chance to experiment with a new layout, new configuration. So we'll just do that and that, and then just trim that excess off. Just gonna use an X-Acto knife. Just clean off the blade a little bit. So just slice this. Okay. Now you should not be cutting towards yourself, but I trust myself enough to do this. All right. All right, just slicing that, and slicing this. Yeah, I think I'm cutting out some paper too. Yeah, that cardstock was getting in the way. So, all right. So now we have this. This is interesting. Let me just see if I can cut that because it's bothering me. There we go. But not to worry, right? This is going to be covered by a wing guard piece. Should be a pretty quick template layout and cut. This isn't symmetric right now just because of the way we laid it out. We try our best to make it symmetric, but it's not exactly. But we'll build a connection piece here to smooth out that intersection. So no worries there. Right now, let's just get the bottom finished. All right, so we cut out the other side here. So it really doesn't matter if it's the same, right? if it is the same, it shouldn't matter is what I'm trying to say. And then this is a nice fit. Although that's going to be hard to assemble. Just because it is a very curvy shape. Right, so this isn't the best solution, but that's what we got. So if you shift this forward and back, I'm gonna try to make the nose touch. Right, so that's how we know it's gonna be good. So the nose is secure. Alright, so that's good as it is. I feel like at some point we have to commit. Alright, so right now that first piece attached the handle to the fairing piece, I guess we'll call it. Now the second one is going to connect the fairing to the wing fuselage portion. It's going to have some excess hangover here. I might have to trim that immediately, but now this edge is going to be really nice because this top edge folds over and then this bottom piece folds and meets it here. So unfortunately it's not seamless, but it's pretty close to being seamless, which is nice. I'm going to trim this with my X-Acto knife. This is not a great angle to cut this at, but goodness, it cuts really easy. Alright, I'm just going to seal off this handle right here. There's a little portion down here that's not closed up. Yeah, and then I'll just trim off the excess here. Alright, so that's looking alright. Yep. Before I finish off the nose, I feel like I should attach the other side too. Alright, just clean out the surface area that I'm working with. So that isn't perfect at the end, but this overhang piece will hopefully wrap around that trailing edge or tail there, you know. So that'll be good. Let's attach this piece, right? Align the nose. This is really finicky. I am sorry. Alright, so that looks decent. So attach the handle bit, and then attach section here. Again, this is not a very straightforward process. This is, just kind of going by judgment here. So sorry about that, but this is also the most fun. This is the funnest part. I don't know, most amusing part about this whole process. It's kind of soothing in a way, just seeing the surfaces come together based on something that you made. So just trimmed off that bit right there. This is nice. I think I'm gonna tape together this nose together. I said together twice. Fuck. Anyway. But yeah, just like secure this part down. Actually, I might not even do like a additional piece because that takes time and also energy and also material. And actually, this looks interesting with a dash of orange down here. Even though it's like it's like a it's like a bird of some sort, you know. You have a little bit of color on your belly or something like that. But anyway, this is a completely new method, and I feel like this right here shows that, which is nice. I'm just gonna finish off the tail or nose. It doesn't really matter. Let's finish out the nose because there's only a little bit left here. Oh my god. Alright, this is nice. Okay, it's not perfect. It is by no means perfect, but damn. Alright, yeah, it's getting a little finicky. Maybe we should do the nose last. I'll just take that off right now. Put it to the side. We should secure this first, and then whatever's left over, whatever's loose gets finished off in the nose, right? So let's see what we can do here. Along this side. I'm just picking a side. It doesn't really matter which one you start with. Alright, so just taped on one side. Debating whether or not to cut. I don't feel like we need to, because it actually ends up being pretty straight at this point. After all the, the cardstock manipulation. Alright, that is very interesting. Yeah, I can't really pinch that bit down without damaging the surface. So I'm just trying to use my nail to make sure the adhesive is sticking to the cardstock. Right, so that's a nice edge. It looks almost seamless. Very close, right? There is still a seam, but it's actually really nice. I've never done anything like that before. Alright, now let's do the other side. This much tape. Alright. I'm just gonna align this with this side right here. Just kind of, that's a little early. There we go. That's better. But I did not want to make a cut here, so I moved it forward. It's still a little bit tight. Damn it. All right, whatever. Well, that's decent. That's good enough. And then just really tightly wrap this around. Right, that's how you have tight tolerances. You use a lot of force to wrap this around. Alright, and then now we just have two sides of the nose, and then closing this off. You should just... Yeah, this is gonna get a little challenging. This is where all the curvature meets up at the front. So that's gonna cause some issues with regard to surface modeling. I'm gonna call this surface modeling because it's really, you're modeling the surface. So, surface modeling in CAD is a different story. That's where you loft things and then, join them and whatnot. Loft surfaces and things like that. Yes, I am doing this on the bottom and then folding it over to the top, but you could also do it from the top and fold to the bottom. I feel like that might actually be more aesthetically pleasing from the top to the bottom because nobody's going to look at the bottom too much, but I'm just trying to get it done at this point. Alright, so for this nose section, what I'm going to do is slice this tab of tape in half along the tape rule. So this is a tape, you grab some tape, you cut like this, not like this, right? That's what I'm doing. And then you take that and have a thin slice here. It's kind of I feel like this would be best done like this. So you kind of just tape it over like that. This is not ideal at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's like me most of the time. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm always learning. Yeah, you can always slice off the undesirable bits, right? Anyway. Always then just add an additional piece. Right. Smooth this front portion out here. Trim that off. Grab another longitudinal slice here. Flip it over. This is where we might want to align it with the curve a little bit. It's kind of fold it over. So then again, right, like I said, this is a art. You kind of have to use your own judgment, right? Because your surfaces are going to be perfectly identical to mine, right? every plane has its own set of curves and problems to overcome. So it's really based on what you can do. Anyway, this is what I came up with. I think this is all right. This is not too bad. There are probably better ways to do this, but this is the way that I have decided to go with this. We are past the 2-hour mark. I think for this session, I might just call it. We do need to finish off the tail section here and roll up the wingtips precisely, and then figure out a way to attach these A-tails, right? So this is gonna look something like this, and finish off the tail section nicely, right, next time. So I feel like that might be a short stream, but if it does end up being short next week, I will get a head start on the next project, which I am debating. I think I might build an X47, which I do have right here, but I want to do one on the live stream and kind of document the process for that, and then actually have a nice flyable prototype, because right now this is like flimsy, right? I didn't design this and build it really well, but if I get a nice version of the X47, which I promised you guys like years ago, this is a nice outdoor flyer. It flies really fast, really high, and it's able to pull itself out of dives, which is I think it's due to its planform shape. But anyways, we'll get into that next time, if we finish early, that is. So the plan for next time is to really just polish off, right? Finish the tail section here, build the wing guard, right? That's gonna take another bit of time, the wing guard, because that is kind of custom fit to this plane, so it needs to be custom designed. And then we'll also attach the A-tail, and then incorporate a fairing structure to really tie it in, right? You don't want to just have it hanging out here. If you go back to my Rapid Prototype 001, it was just taped on and left like that, but I want to do something better for this, so I might build a fairing for that. So we'll just kind of finish off this model next time. That's kind of the goal. And the next time will probably be next Friday. Not this Friday, because I am spending the weekend with my folks back home. And so, yeah, and that's why I'm doing it today, is because tomorrow I'm going to be traveling. So, and this is going to go on until August, end of August. I might be not available on some Fridays, and on those Fridays that I'm not going to be available in that week, I will move the live stream to Thursdays. And if I do any additional sessions, that's great, but I am aiming to do at least one a week regularly, at a scheduled time. So normally that'd be Fridays, but if it's a week where it's a Thursday, well, then it's going to be a Thursday. It's probably going to be a 2-week cycle, so it's going to be Friday and then Thursday and then Friday and then Thursday. So we'll see how it goes. I will keep you guys updated in these streams about when I'm going to stream next time. It's a fairly loose, casual process, but I still want to keep like a consistent schedule. So that's the plan going forward. So yeah, next time, which is next Friday, I'm going to finish this off and hopefully get started on a new project soon. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.